You know that moment when something finally starts going right with money, and instead of relief, your chest tightens? A better client says yes. A bigger payment is about to land. Someone offers you an opportunity you said you wanted, and suddenly, your body reacts before your mind has time to celebrate. You hesitate. You reread the message 5 times. You tell yourself you need to think about it. You wait too long to send the proposal. You avoid following up. You forget to charge what you are owed. Or the money comes in, and almost immediately, you find a reason to get rid of it. If you stay with me, I'm going to help you recognize the exact moment this pattern begins, so you can stop confusing it with bad timing, lack of discipline, or simple financial bad luck. Because if you leave before you see the pattern clearly, you may keep trying to solve the problem with more strategy, more planning, more motivation, while repeating the same reaction every time real expansion gets close enough to feel real. And what makes this so confusing is that from the outside, it can look responsible. You say, I just want to be careful. You tell yourself you are waiting for more certainty. You convince yourself that now is not the right time to raise your price, accept the opportunity, invest in the next step, or ask for the amount you actually deserve. But inside, something else is happening. There is a difference between not having an opportunity and having one in front of, while feeling an unexplained urge to move away from it. I want you to notice that difference. Think about the last time money got closer than usual, not a fantasy, not a goal on paper, a real moment, a real offer, a real sale, a real opening. What happened inside you before you made the decision? Did your breathing change? Did your stomach tighten? Did you suddenly become tired, distracted, doubtful, hypercritical? And here is the question I want you to carry with you. What exactly is your body trying to protect you from every time money starts getting closer? Because maybe the most important part is not what you think about money when nothing is happening. Maybe the truth shows up in the few seconds after possibility becomes real. There is often a tiny gap between the opportunity and the explanation you give yourself. In that gap, something moves first. You may call it intuition. You may call it caution. You may call it being realistic. But before we decide what it is, I want you to become curious about the timing. Why does the tension appear when the door is opening, not when it is closed? Why do some people work relentlessly for more, then pull back the moment more actually arrives? Why do you sometimes feel safer wanting the next level than living inside it? There is something your reactions may have learned about money long before you ever had the language to question it. And once you see where this pattern really shows up, a different problem becomes to ignore. Why do you seem to resist success more intensely when you are closest to getting it? The problem is not that you never move toward more money. The problem is that you often move toward it until the distance becomes uncomfortable. You can plan for growth for months. You can talk about the next level, study it, visualize it, even work harder than everyone around you. But when the result stops being theoretical and starts asking something real from you, your behavior changes. A strong client reaches out, and you wait too long to reply. Someone asks for your price, and you lower it before they negotiate. You finally have enough money to create breathing room, and suddenly there is an urgent reason to spend it. You get close to the target, then become strangely exhausted, distracted, indecisive, or convinced that the opportunity is not quite right. This is why the pattern is so painful. You are not sabotaging what you do not want. You are interfering with the very thing you have been asking for. And because the behavior can look reasonable, you may never recognize it as resistance. Imagine a good client sends you a message right now. They are interested. They have the budget. They are not asking for anything unreasonable. All you need to do is answer clearly. But instead of responding, you open the message, close it, check something else, tell yourself you need to make the proposal more professional, then decide you should sleep on it. Hours pass, maybe a day. Meanwhile, you create a story that sounds intelligent. I don't want to rush. I need to be sure. I should research the market first. Sometimes that is wisdom, but sometimes prudence becomes the perfect disguise for fear because it allows you to retreat without ever admitting that you are retreating. And that is what keeps you trapped without making you feel trapped. You still look productive. You are still thinking, preparing, improving, refining. You are just not crossing the line that would make the change real. This is not a reason to attack yourself. In fact, self-criticism usually makes the pattern harder to see, because the moment you call yourself lazy, weak, undisciplined, or irresponsible, you stop investigating what is actually happening. The more useful question is why the resistance gets louder as the outcome gets closer. If the problem was simply a lack of ambition, you would not have worked this hard to reach the door. If the problem were only strategy, better information would consistently solve it. But many people know exactly what action they need to take and still feel a strong pull to delay it when the stakes become personal. That pull matters. It is telling you that the opportunity is not only about money anymore. It now represents change, visibility, responsibility, expectation, and a version of your life that may no longer match the identity you have been carrying. So before you call your hesitation being realistic, ask yourself something more uncomfortable. Why does caution suddenly become so convincing precisely when success is close enough to change you? Here is where the pattern starts becoming visible. Your reaction may not be to money itself. It may be to what money changes. More money can mean more responsibility, more visibility, more choices, more distance from the version of you that learned how to survive with less. That distinction matters. When your circumstances begin changing faster than your self-image, the change can feel destabilizing even when you consciously want it. A familiar struggle can feel safer than an unfamiliar success simply because your mind already knows who you are inside the struggle. You know how to behave there. You know what to expect. You know how people relate to you there. Expansion disrupts that familiarity. It asks you to make decisions from a position you may not have practiced inhabiting yet. And when unfamiliarity gets interpreted as danger, your reactions can become protective before your conscious mind has formed a clear thought about what is happening. This is why I do not want you to hear this as, "My body hates success," or "Something inside me is magically blocking money." That is not the point. The point is much more practical. Learned responses can make change feel threatening, and when change feels threatening, avoidance can feel like relief. That relief is powerful. You delay the call and feel calmer. You lower the price and feel exposed. You spend the extra money and return to a financial level that feels strangely familiar. The decision may cost you later, but in the immediate moment, the tension drops. And every time relief follows retreat, the retreat becomes easier to repeat. Now go one layer deeper. Where does that association come from? Sometimes it comes from what you repeatedly observed around money. Maybe earning more always seemed to bring conflict, criticism, pressure, jealousy, or exhaustion. Maybe people with money were described as selfish, greedy, lucky, dishonest, disconnected, or not like us. Maybe the people you loved bonded through struggle, sacrifice, scarcity, or constant worry. You do not need one dramatic event for those associations to form. Repetition is enough to teach you what belonging is supposed to look like. So imagine what happens when your financial reality begins moving beyond the identity that helped you belong. You may consciously think, "I want this." At the same time, another part of your learned response asks, "If this works, where does that leave me? Who will I be? Will people expect more from me? Will I become responsible for everyone? Will I still belong?" That is why the anchor question matters so much now. What exactly is your body trying to protect you from every time money starts getting closer? Maybe it is not protecting you from the number in the bank account. Maybe it is trying to protect you from exposure, from judgment, from pity, from separation, from becoming visible enough to be criticized, from succeeding beyond a role that once made relationships predictable. When you see that, your behavior stops looking random. Even spending can take on a different meaning. Keeping money requires you to tolerate having it. Charging more requires you to tolerate being evaluated at a higher level. Accepting a larger opportunity requires you to tolerate the possibility that your life might actually change. The old response says, "Return to familiar territory." And because familiar territory feels known, it can masquerade as safety. But there is an important distinction here, because not every hesitation is fear, and not every opportunity should be accepted. Real prudence becomes clearer when you examine it. It can tell you what the risk is, what evidence is missing, what boundary is being crossed, or what condition needs to change before you proceed. Fear disguised as wisdom is different. It tends to become vague. It keeps moving the finish line, First you need more information, then more confidence, then a better month, then one more certification, then another sign. Nothing is ever quite enough to make action feel safe. That is what becomes visible once you recognize the pattern. The question stops being, how do I eliminate every uncomfortable feeling before I grow? And becomes, what am I calling wisdom simply because it allows me to stay familiar? This is the moment when the first loop. What your reactions may know about money is not some hidden financial truth your conscious mind missed. They may know an old association. Growth equals change. Change threatens familiarity, and familiarity has been treated as safety. That is a learned protective pattern, not a verdict about what you are capable of becoming. But seeing the pattern creates another problem. Awareness alone does not stop your hand from closing the proposal, lowering the price, avoiding the conversation, or finding a reason to retreat when the next opportunity arrives. You can understand exactly why you do it and still repeat it under pressure. So if the old response is learned, what would it take to teach yourself something different while the opportunity is actually happening? The solution is not to force yourself harder every time fear appears. It is not to become more aggressive, more disciplined, or more obsessed with control. If your learned response interprets expansion as a threat, trying to overpower that response can make the threat feel even bigger. What you actually need is evidence, in real time, that growth can happen without destroying your sense of safety, identity, or belonging. That evidence is built through action that is small enough to tolerate and real enough to matter. This is where many people get stuck, because they assume change requires one dramatic leap. They think they need to wake up fearless, charge twice as much, accept every opportunity, invest, and suddenly become a completely different person. But that approach often recreates the exact problem. It makes expansion feel like rupture. A better approach is to make expansion familiar. You create repeated experiences where you move toward more without abandoning yourself. You send the proposal while the discomfort is still there. You leave the money in the account for another day instead of immediately spending it. You say the full price without apologizing. You answer the good client before your mind creates 10 reasons to delay. You do not wait for the tension to disappear. You let the tension exist while you take one safe, deliberate step forward. That is how the association begins to change. Not because you told yourself an affirmation, but because you created a new experience. I moved forward and I remained safe. Then you repeat it. The goal is not to convince yourself that every opportunity is safe. The goal is to stop treating every unfamiliar level of success as if it is automatically dangerous. And now I want you to do something more specific. You came here because you wanted to understand why you pull back precisely when things begin to work. What you are recognizing right now is the answer. The moment that looks like laziness, overthinking, perfectionism, or bad timing may actually be the point where a familiar identity is being asked to stretch. So take the next real financial opportunity you are postponing and bring it into focus. Not your 5-year dream, not an imaginary business, something already in front of you. Then ask yourself the first question. What real financial opportunity am I postponing right now? Name it precisely. Maybe it is sending a proposal, raising a rate, following up with a client, accepting a role, keeping a larger amount of money instead of finding a reason to spend it. Once you have the answer, move to the second question. If this actually works, what specifically am I afraid will change? Do not answer with everything or I don't know. Push past the vague answer. Maybe you are afraid people will expect more. Maybe you are afraid you will have to maintain the result. Maybe you are afraid your family will treat you differently. Maybe you are afraid you will lose the identity of being the one who is still trying. Maybe success would remove an excuse that has protected you from a larger decision. Then let your answer create the third question. Who would I have to stop being in order to sustain this result? That question is uncomfortable because it exposes the hidden contract underneath the resistance. Maybe you would have to stop being the person who always struggles, the person who stays small enough to remain invisible, the person who never risks being judged at a higher level, the person who waits until certainty arrives before acting, the person who believes stress proves responsibility, the person who automatically returns to scarcity because scarcity is familiar. Once you see the answer, do not turn it into another intellectual exercise. Make the next move concrete. This is the part where recognition becomes retraining. If the opportunity is a proposal, open it and finish one section. If the issue is pricing, write the actual number you intend to say before the conversation begins. If the pattern is spending, choose one amount of incoming money that you will leave untouched for a defined period, simply to experience having more without immediately escaping the feeling. If the issue is visibility, send the message before you feel perfectly ready. Then observe what happens inside you without obeying every signal automatically. You may feel a spike of anxiety. You may want to undo what you just did. You may suddenly discover 10 convincing reasons why this was a mistake. That moment is not proof that the action was wrong. It is the moment when the old association is asking to be restored. Stay with the facts. Ask, is there an actual danger here? Or is this unfamiliarity? Is there a specific risk I can name, or only a strong feeling that I should retreat? If there is a real risk, address it intelligently. If there is not, allow the discomfort to rise and fall without turning it into a command. This is how you begin proving that a different result does not require you to lose yourself. You are not becoming reckless. You are becoming capable of separating danger from unfamiliarity. But there is one final piece, because insight under Eluaplotskaposen sixisia prostant. Zawis presivia, manaurumastamer no. Ikembrella, and Moisinsen, Fabalomia in Limsend, Asekopliptun abodanolom conditions, is easy and old patterns return fast easy. So how do you turn this recognition into a simple process you can use every single time the cycle starts again? So here is the process I want you to remember the next time money gets close enough to make you uncomfortable. First, notice the moment. Do not wait until you have already avoided the call, lowered the price, spent the money, or talked yourself out of the opportunity. Catch the first change in your behavior, the sudden delay, the tightening, the urge to think a little longer, the unexpected need to make everything perfect. Then ask one question: what am I about to avoid? Second, name the threat. Not the financial risk yet, the personal threat your mind is attaching to the outcome. What changes if this works? More responsibility? More visibility? Higher expectations? Distance from people you love? The pressure to maintain the result? Name it in one sentence. Third, separate risk from unfamiliarity. Ask yourself, what concrete evidence says this is dangerous? If there is a real financial, legal, professional, or relational risk, deal with it. Protect yourself. Negotiate. Get information. Set the boundary. But if the only evidence is that this feels strange, intense, or unlike the life you are used to, do not promote that feeling into a fact. Fourth, take one expansion action before retreat becomes automatic. Send the message. State the, keep the money, make the call, accept the meeting, complete the application. One action, small enough that you can do it now, meaningful enough that it interrupts the old sequence. Then comes the part most people skip. Stay long enough to experience the aftermath. After you take the action, do not immediately run back and neutralize it. Do not send a second message apologizing for your price. Do not invent an expense because the money sitting in your account feels uncomfortable. Do not interpret every wave of anxiety as evidence that you made the wrong choice. Give yourself time to discover what actually happens. This is where a new pattern is built. You act, discomfort rises, nothing catastrophic happens, and eventually the intensity changes. Then you repeat the process the next time. Notice, name, separate, act, stay. 5 steps. You are not trying to become a person who never feels fear around growth. You're becoming someone who no longer gives fear automatic authority. And over time, that changes more than your financial decisions. It changes what you believe you are capable of holding. Not just earning, holding, keeping, sustaining, receiving without immediately shrinking afterward. Because financial expansion is not only the moment more arrives. It is your ability to remain present after it arrives without unconsciously rebuilding the conditions you already know. That is the inversion I want you to leave with. You may have spent years believing the on was to want success more intensely. Work harder. Think more positively. Find the perfect strategy. But sometimes the next level is not waiting for more desire. It is waiting for you to stop interpreting unfamiliarity as a command to return to your old life. You do not need to destroy the person you have been. You do not need to reject where you came from. You do not need to prove that money makes you better than anyone. You only need to stop making familiarity the price of belonging. When the next opportunity appears, the question is no longer, how do I make this fear disappear? The question is, can I move one step forward without abandoning myself? That is how expansion becomes something you can sustain instead of something you repeatedly approach and escape. Your body doesn't fear the money. It fears who you become when it arrives. And now you know that becoming someone new does not have to mean losing yourself. If something in this gave language to a pattern you have felt but never understood, stay connected with me here. I want to keep building this path with you, one pattern at a time. Follow this channel, and when the end screen appears, choose the video that speaks to the part of your life that is asking to change next. What would become possible if you stopped treating the unfamiliar version of your life as something you needed to escape?